Who's Cindy and how did you get here?
You know, if you would have told me, I tell many people this, if you would have told me 20 years ago that I would have been working at a Y, let alone running a Y, I probably would have, laughed at the person, because I've always been a member of the Y, but I just never saw myself on a day-to-day basis. I've got an accounting background. I worked for Pricewaterhouse for many years, and it was just not something that I had imagined myself doing. And when one door closes, another opens, and the door on my public accounting career closed. It was time. I had a young family, and I couldn't meet the travel demands for that job, so I quit to be a stay-at-home mom, and that lasted about 2 weeks. I had a former client who was on the board at the Y that called me up and asked me if I had some time to volunteer to come in and help them, with some issues they were having, straightening out their finance department and getting some controls and procedures. And I'm now almost to my 14th year after that phone call. And I found very quickly, I think the secret and what makes the Y so successful, it's very driven by people, and people that have a passion. And you either have that passion and you get what the Y is about, and it becomes a part of your life. It's not just a job that you go to, and it's been an absolutely amazing experience, and I couldn't imagine the Y not being this big a part of my life. And my kids were young. They got to grow up in the Y with me while I was at work. I could go on field trips with them in the summertime, and so it was just it happened at the right time. So one door closed and another amazing door opened at just the right time for me. So that's how I ended up being at the Y, more than just a person to work out or take swim lessons like I had done as a child. So it's been a wonderful journey.
Your family is invested in the Y, so to speak.
Yes.
I see your kids helping. Your kids are there for the cause. Your husband obviously is, really invested. He's put his heart and soul into supporting you and the Y. Yeah. Tell me a little bit about how it's more than just a job. It's really your family is invested in the Y.
And I think the biggest thing that we've got out of it is to teach my children the value of giving back to their community and helping. It's not always about a job, but it's making a difference in lives. And my kids have been lifeguards and camp counselors, and they've been as little as they could. They'd be running stuff for Halloween fun nights pretty much from kindergarten onward. So I think it's taught them the value as they start to enter adulthood, that it's about finding something that drives you, that is not just for your own personal gain, but to help others. And then in the long run, you get that personal satisfaction. And I think for my husband, it's been, I think sometimes he's more invested in the Y than what I am. He really has a passion for it. You've been out to visit our campground that he built.
He's a passionate guy. He seems to love the place. He loves the kids.
He's already working on, his
pizza.
His third plan. He's starting a diet today, and he said, pizza, can't eat pizza anymore for a while. But he's already working on his third round of what needs to be done out at camp, because it's a growing process as we continue to grow and expand out there. Every year there's things that need to be done. We're venturing into Michigan City now. We've got a wonderful opportunity to bring a Y back to a community where it's needed, but there's some work that needs to be done at Elston, and he will be out there Monday heading up our maintenance crew to get stuff done. So it keeps him busy and out of trouble, and he loves the kids. And he was in a couple weeks ago when we had school day out camp, and the kids heard he was in the building, and he had to go down and visit with them for a little bit of time. And before he left, I can't tie my shoes, pizza, or, he loves it, and I think especially the little boys. We have 2 girls, so he really enjoys getting to throw the football at camp with the kids. And so it makes you feel good when you're a part of it, and those kids and those families become your extended family when you get involved with it.
Well, I had to me, probably one of my top 10 life moments was standing in the rain with Don out in the middle of the woods as he was explaining exactly why they put the fence where they put it, to protect as many trees as possible, but to make it safe for the kids. And rain's falling down on his head, and he could barely notice it, and he's just beaming about what he's doing for the kids. And to me, it's one of those moments, it's the first time I'd ever met him, it's one of those moments where you just say, I just love this guy. Just immediately about him, just so much character comes out.
And and I think what he and his father, they donated the land to the Y to start that. We had a need. We lost our home that we'd had for a long time with summer camp. So we had had this land in our family for quite a while, and they wanted to make a difference in kids' lives. And and I think that for me was one of those big moments too, where you saw just really how much the Y means to our community. Because what we were able to do out there for a very little financial investment on the part of the Y, because people came together, the FOP did a fundraiser to help put money towards the treehouse. And when they were presenting me with the check, one of the police officers said, "We know if we invest now, we're not going to see kids in the back of our police car, 10 years from now." So there's a bigger picture there, and the community got it, and that's when you're doing the right thing for the right reasons, when you get that community support. Just like when our haunted trail this fall was destroyed by some teenagers that were up to mischievous ways, and we had over 100 people that were there, and Blair put out a rallying cry. We did it all on Facebook. We didn't have anything formal, and we had over 100 people there that helped us rebuild it. The kids had the day off of school. The wrestling team came out. LaPorte, Chrysler Plymouth sent out a crew of people. We had people donating pizzas. Wanna Pizza did. Jimmy John's brought sandwiches out. It was just the whole community came together, and we were able to have our event. So that's the paycheck that I talk about with our staff. It's an intangible that you can't take it to the bank and get dollars for it, but it's a paycheck that a lot of people don't have the opportunity to get in a job that they pursue.
What leads you to, you're a very positive-minded person, and obviously I like positive-minded people. What leads you to be someone that tends to find the positive and the negative? So many would have the, haunted trail thing all messed up with a bunch of teenagers, and that would sour them on doing that. That would sour them on their attitude about the world. That would cause them to dwell on the negative part of what was truly a negative situation. And you and others around you, people like Blair and some of the people that helped out, you guys chose to say, no, this is an opportunity for us to show what LaPorte stands for. Let's show what a community stands for. Let's find good in the bad. How'd that start?
Well, I just think it's true with how you live your life too. There's, we all deal with ups and downs, and if you focus your entire life on those downs, that's going to become the tone of your life. So you've got to, the glass is either half empty or it's half full, and you have to choose to look at it as half full. And that was the email that Blair shared with me. She said, we need to show people that we're not going to let someone get us down when this happens. And she said, I think we can do this. And I said, as long as we, this is what we need to make it happen. And I think when people continue to do things like that and focus on the positive, hopefully it becomes contagious. So people say, you know what, we're going to follow that example, and we're going to look at the glass as half full, or like we had said, make lemonade out of lemons, the article that you guys had published for us. And I think it made a lot of people feel good. Like I was saying, the gratification that I get from my job, I think it made the people in the community feel really good that, hey, we showed them that we are a good community. And just like that was a handful of kids that did that. If you walk through the high school, I have a daughter who's a senior at the high school, there's a lot of great kids. The vast majority of the kids at the high school are good kids doing great things, but we like to focus on those who don't do the good things. And if we can focus on those great kids, maybe those kids that aren't doing such great things will maybe want to be like those kids.
The weather hits, you bring up the weather situation. Yeah. The weather hits, a bunch of people think, okay, we're going to be off. That's not, you're not in that.
We're not off.
You're not off. You're doubly on sometimes. Right. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, we serve a lot of different school districts. We provide services for the New Prairie United School Corporation, Westville Schools, LaPorte Schools, Michigan City Schools, and we're doing a variety of programming there. So we have to be on top of what's going on with the weather so we can keep our parents and our families informed. But most importantly, we're providing some type of preschool or child care typically for working parents. So if we're not able to be in those school buildings, then we've got to go to Plan B, which is to get our building ready and make sure we've got a staff person there at 6:30 in the morning to get the to watch the kids when they get in there. So we're monitoring and watching that weather all the time, and also for the middle school kids that otherwise would be home hanging out, probably watching TV or playing video games, they're coming in playing basketball, and that's what we're there. We want to be there for those days when people need a place to go.
So your people aren't thinking, oh great, I got a day off. Yeah. They're thinking, oh,
and even if they are,
day.
we've got some new people, and that's what we told them yesterday. Welcome to busy season and winter at the Y, because then we also have our people that are making those commitments for life changes, for healthy, trying to achieve their healthy living objectives. So they're in working out and exercising. And I was there till about 8:30 last night, and I had one of my guys that's always there in the evening. He comes in and works out and lifts weights. He came in my office. He's like, "Thank you for being open tonight. You're such a big part of my life." And I was really keeping my fingers crossed that I was still going to be able to get in and work out tonight. So we have to be here for when people need a place to go.
Michigan City, just tell me about how that all came together. There's probably countless people that have been helpful, too many even probably to mention, but how did that community come together in terms of embracing you? Because to me, I watch as an outsider of Michigan City, and there's so much positive right now. There's so much momentum in the downtown area, along the lakefront, with the Y, with the Arts District, with the art space, just putting in a ice skating rink or whatever. There's so many good things happening. Tell me about one of the biggest good things that is going to be happening.
Well, there was a YMCA in Michigan City for many years, and they were no longer able to operate, keep their facility open, probably, I want to say 7 or 8 years ago this coming year. And we petitioned right away to have Michigan City as our service area, because what a lot of people don't understand, Ys are independent. We were not part of the old Michigan City Y, but we knew that there was a need in that community. So we did that step just initially, so if we looked down the road, we would have the ability to bring that programming back. So it's really been a grassroots effort to educate people about what the Y is about, our mission, and to not let the experience that they had had with the previous Y, deter them from embracing and welcoming a Y into their community again. Obviously a challenge once we got people on board, and we had members that would come over to the LaPorte Y. We also have a little Long Beach branch. Some people would go there, but transportation is a big barrier in Michigan City. We needed something in that community. So once we got over that, where people were enthusiastic, and the pool, that's the number one thing. We need a pool, we need a pool, we need a pool. But to look at trying to build a facility, to build an average size YMCA, you have to raise $15 million minimum, and that just was not something that the community was going to be able to financially afford. So we've been brainstorming. We've had a task force put together for almost 3 years now, and we strategically picked people connected in the Michigan City community to help us start doing the friend raising and to help us start reaching out to connections of places where there could possibly be a location that we could use with a gym, or pool is not quite as easy to find.
Yeah.
And when you talk about one door closing and another one opening, Michigan City School Corporation has been faced with some pretty significant financial struggles, and their administration has done, I think, an absolutely remarkable job of weathering some tough storms. And I think Dr. Eason Watkins is quite the lady. They're very lucky to have her. And the first day I met her, they had a meet and greet for her at a chamber event, and she said, "You're at the Y, we're going to get to know each other, because collaboration is what's going to make a school corporation work." And here we are, several years later, and when their first round of cuts were done a few years ago, they had to eliminate their free preschool program. So she reached out to us knowing that we had a high-level quality accredited child care center. So we took over their preschool programs in several of their elementary schools. So that was kind of our foot in the door for them to get to know us and for us to really have more reach into the community. Then with this last round of cuts, they had to eliminate their elementary sports program. So she reached out to me to see if we would be willing to organize the elementary sports program so the kids could continue to be involved in extracurricular activities. So we've partnered with the Salvation Army, the Park Department, and Safe Harbor to we've each adopted 2 schools, and they've been wonderful partners to work with, which then took us to the next level. They had to repurpose these buildings, and they have this beautiful, well-maintained building. I was very impressed the first time I walked in Elston that is sitting there, and they needed to repurpose it. So her vision was to turn it into a place where different organizations throughout the community could have a home that they could call, they could keep their facility, but turn it into something that would be positive for the community with a pool, with 2 gyms, and with all of this stuff. I mean, we couldn't have asked for a better plan. So they had a tough obstacle. They had to close the door on that being a middle school, but then this other door has opened for us to turn it into an anchor for the community is what our long-term vision is for it. So we're excited. We've been embraced by the community, and like any Y, the success of it is going to be dependent upon those people stepping up to help us make it happen. We're going to volunteer coaches, and we need staff, and we need people to help us get it cleaned and painted and ready to go, and that's where we're at right now. We actually kick off the renovation, starts on Monday.
It really does come full circle then.
Yes.
In terms of the impact that you can have.
Yes. There are a lot of great organizations in Michigan City that are already serving the youth, but there are more youth that need to be in safe places than there are organizations right now. And we're hoping that we're going to be able to fill some of those voids, not duplicate what's being done, but fill that void of services that are needed. And our Y in LaPorte, if you look at what we were doing 2 or 3 years ago, we're not the same Y today that we were even a year ago, because the success of a Y is evolving and changing to meet the needs of the community. And if everybody wants Zumba this year, then we're going to have Zumba classes. But when it, when it moves into
shifts to boot camp, then you shift to boot camp.
You have to evolve and adapt to what's needed, So our Michigan City Y will not look exactly like our LaPorte Y from a program standpoint, from a staffing standpoint, from a lot of ways, just like our Long Beach branch doesn't look like our LaPorte one, because it adapts to what that community needs. So good stuff. We've got exciting things coming down the road. I think 2015 is going to be a great year for the Y.
What I would ask you just to describe is, when people think about the LaPorte County Y, a lot of times they think about the LaPorte Y.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about, there's quite a few touch points beyond the LaPorte Y already.
Right. Physically, we've got our Andrew Avenue outdoor education facility that we use for our soccer and a lot of our outdoor programs. We've got our Child Care and Learning Center, which just celebrated its 25th anniversary last year. We're the only accredited Level 4 Paths to Quality Licensed Center within the city of LaPorte, and only the second in the county. We've got Ivy Tech. Rick Soria has been gracious enough to open his doors almost a year ago. He's on our advisory committee and knew that we needed a home in Michigan City for people to come and be able to register and talk to us. So we've got an office in Ivy Tech. We've got our branch in Long Beach. And then we've got the Elston facility is going to be opening up very quickly. As soon as we can get phones and computers in there, we will have a sign up and we'll have the doors open out there. And I think what makes us unique, if you look at Porter County, there's multiple Ys in Porter County, there's multiple Ys in LaPorte County. We are the only Y in our neighborhood across the northern part of the state that serves such a large county. So it's, outreach to all of those different communities. And sometimes we take the show on the road and we do our before and after school care in the schools for New Prairie. We serve some St. Joe County families with that. We've got an EduCare program in Pine School, which is technically in Porter County. So it's not just people coming to us, we also go to people in our community